So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Do you miss me at all? Do you think about the things we used to do? No, you couldn't stand tall, so why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Can you feel me? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? You better turn up. You better be there when I shake. Watch me rocking if I can't stop. If I should fall, just go ahead. Go and catch me, baby. Ooh, I live it. That's my choo-choo-la. Ooh, I love it. Crank it up, yeah. Turn it up on a higher level. Turn it up, we got this.
Break it down like this.
Join in. You better grab that tambourine. Bring the bass, we might be wicked. We may be forced to cause a scene. Make some trouble, baby. Ooh, I live it. That's my choo-choo-la. Ooh, I love it. Crank it up, yeah. Turn it up on a higher level. Turn it
We can shine in a crowd, we never hesitate. Let us rise to the clouds. We got nothing to lose, I know the time is right. Let us light up the fuse. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know we're perfect, you and I. And I don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't giving up without a fight. What I feel, I know it's right. Let us detonate tonight. Let us detonate tonight. Let us detonate tonight. We can shine in a crowd, we never hesitate. Let us rise to the clouds. We got nothing to lose, I know the time is right. Let us light up the fuse. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know we're perfect, you and I. And I don't, and I don't, and I don't, and I don't giving up without a fight. What I feel, I know it's right. Let us detonate tonight. Let us detonate tonight. No, it's right. Let us detonate tonight.
Lightning strikes by my window, hits my chest right in the morning, like a warning. Could have slept here for days. I felt your heartbeat, felt your mouth breathe, but it's not real. We were close to see the sun, but clouds got in our way, and so
Welcome to the SMITE Global Series. Finch here. I have Taco with me as well, and today we're going to be taking a look at Oceania, see how things are going on that side between the Argos and Kuzin Bros.
And already a lot of fun within these players' names. Can only
sure.
imagine what their playstyles are like. Oceania tends to be a little bit more innovative as far as drafting is concerned.
Yeah, we got a lot to look forward to as far as how these teams are going to be going. We've started to see how this meta is developing already. I mean, we've been seeing the Global Series in Oceania 2 weeks already before this. We got to see some SPL Pro action yesterday as well. So we're really starting to see how things are developing. But let's take a look at the path that they took to make it all the way here, Taco. Looks like both teams had a fairly easy time of it. They both won their best of 3 2-0. So we'll see some strong teams.
It seems like some very confident play coming out of both of these teams. And since they've had 2-0 victories all the way leading up to their path against each other, might be a couple of similarities between these two teams as far as just general play style and aggression is concerned.
And in these open bracket formats, you always got to wonder, I mean, oftentimes you have players who've been around, maybe switching teams, that sort of thing. How are you going to handle it when you do have that first loss now? In this format, if you get that first loss, you got to be able to bounce back. But these teams haven't been through that yet. So if they get that loss, how do they respond?
And there are a few familiar players in the Oceania scene who have been around for quite some time. Members such as Liquid Renegade, for example, tend to be more that leadership kind of role for their teams. Just because of the fact that they've been around the scene for so long, they're a lot more familiar with it.
Let's go ahead and get the picks and bans up on the screen. I know y'all want to see what they're picking. I want to see too. Let's go ahead and see what's going to be prioritized between these two squads. We've seen a lot of focus on junglers, it's felt like, a lot of focus on these mid laners. That jungle mid seems very important here.
Right now, though, it seems as though they'd rather face their focus as more so onto the aggressive picks. Kakolin and Daji, excellent gods for applying a ton of early game pressure. Going to be really important to eliminate those, make sure that neither side really gets the advantage there.
And Serket is the one that makes it through. So, yeah, you can eliminate one very mobile, annoying jungler, but there's just one more waiting around for you in the form of Serket. So they end up taking that one for themselves. Immediate response there with Hachiman and Athena. Very strong, likely duo lane that they've got.
And we haven't had too many opportunities to see Serket in competitive play in Season 5. This is an interesting opportunity.
Her, yeah.
Exactly. And now that she's actually open, it leaves a lot of room for mobility. It seems to be some of the prioritization here for Team Argo. They have picked up the Giannis as well, so that synchronizes pretty well alongside of Serket's kit.
I agree. That mobility they can get to the Giannis it's so strong. It always seems like the Giannis is a little bit ahead of their other mid laner. Even if there's been no kills or anything, Giannis just farms so well because he's zooming around the map basically. Bologna going to be what they used to round that draft out. Just a strong solo pick, especially with Kakulin already off the board.
I really am liking the responses that these teams are having for each other, though. It seems as though Kuzin Bros haven't picked up an immediate solo laner quite yet. Athena could still be considered a flex pick for the solo lane role, though we haven't seen too much of her there yet. But I would like to see a pressure pick for Kuzin Bros to respond to that Bologna. Bologna having such an easy time clearing due to her cleave auto attacks is still very efficient in that solo lane role.
I like this, though. They ban away the Geb. This has been a real strong support pick right now. I mean, the Geb shield itself, the Cataclysm as well, very powerful, being able to get that big AoE stun. So they're taking those out, and not a focus on the solo laner from Argo. They're still trying to ban away some junglers.
They're really concerned about a lot of these pressure picks. Yeah. Susano and Nemesis, again, Nemesis can kind of match that mobility from the Serket, not wanting to have to worry about those slice and dices either or the final judgments off that ultimate. They're really looking to try and shift their burst, it seems, more towards the Hachiman and Discordia and having an appropriate front line. Osiris and Athena really going to do a great job at that.
I like this as pick ban strategy, though. When you get a high value pick like Serket, I mean, that's a pretty top tier jungler. The more distance I suppose you can put between that and the enemy jungler, that does kind of make the Serket even more valuable in a way. So maybe they're putting that extra attention there to make sure that they're able to play around this Serket even better. I'm
a fan of the Sobek Hu Yi dual lane, though. There's a lot of pressure that can be compensated for that might be missing initially from Argo because Giannis doesn't have the greatest amount of lane bullying potential, at least not from the starting phase, but as time progresses, I think that the Sobek Hu Yi is a very solid kill lane. Going to have to be careful there for Kuzin Bros. Don't want to get plucked out of position.
Well, we are ready to go ahead and move into game one here. Again, it's going to be the Argos going up against Kuzin Bros. Zunbats was that last selection made there by Hippo, and he has taken it into the jungle. Zunbats is something that we actually saw. We've seen highly valued here lately, and the Fear No Evil, I got to imagine, is part of why such a strong ultimate.
Humats is a pretty strong god indeed, and I really like the potential that Team Kuzenbros is going to have with this Fear No Evil, because it can match some of the chaos that might be happening in these jungle team fights that Sleepy could be bringing to the table with that Hu Yi.
Sleepy is the one taking that Ho Yi over into the dual lane. And you mentioned already how this Ho Yi Sobek can get so much pressure within the dual lane, and that's been very important that we've seen so far. That dual lane pressure, are you able to go over there and repeatedly invade the jungle? Is that enough to pull the enemy jungler over to your lane rather than letting him be anywhere else? That early pressure is so important.
Considering that we've already been seeing a lot of junglers tending to spend most of their time hovering that mid dual lane side, looking for any possible ganks, you can kind of just expect that Liquid Renegade and Sleepy are still going to be playing moderately passive, at least from the start, making sure that they're not getting ganked from any sort of jungler speed to red buff invade.
Now, as opposed to some other gods, Unbots' early gank isn't as bad. Like if a Sarketa or Nemesis comes over, even before level 5, that can be pretty strong, but Unbots not quite as much. So, they might not be, they'll be considering that when they decide whether they want to be aggressive here or not. Already, though, strong poke has come out, using the Ricochet for more poke instead of for clearing the wave. So even though they won the poke war, we'll see if they'll be able to out-clear over here, as Heavenly Banner was still available for Hachima.
Hachiman getting a little fortunate there that double bounce actually didn't connect, managing to sidestep it at the last moment, but still eating a ton of poke damage. And for Argo, this is still a great position to be in. They might not have fully cleared the wave out, but they got the poke that matters.
That's what they went for. They got that poke, and I think some potions had to be popped there for Agoras to heal back up a little bit, because he's in a much better spot here now than he was just a moment ago, healing up. But we're starting to see some of what could make Athena real strong in lane. That Shield Crash coming in, and with that Reach passive, just some extra damage she can put into the wave that you don't always get from your support.
Heavenly Banner from Hachiman doing work as far as clearing out the lane initially, just trying to re-establish the pressure. Although neither side has really had an opportunity yet to try and clear their own buffs, it seems as though Kuzenbros wants to kind of contest a little bit in this poke war between Argo.
And we saw for a moment their good Ricochet. That's got some good damage there onto Bartman. Gonna force him just a little bit back. Already taken over to level 2, just a little bit ahead of their opponents. That could be important, but more important here in the mid lane. The portal's down, not gonna be quite enough to finish that one off. I think she had to use the beads to avoid the damage, and she did. So gonna be able to get out of there and avoid first blood.
An incredibly well-timed purification beads as well. Discordia holding it for so long meant that Argo wasn't prepared for the follow-up there. They expected that to be a kill because of how long Discordia held those beads. Waiting until that moment is the main reason why she was able to get back underneath her T1 tower line.
And that's right, you have time when you're in the portal. You really have time until kind of you hit the ground again to beads at any point in there to not take that damage. That's what she did. And as you said, if she beads right away and she's still walking, they might keep walking forward, but instead able to get out of there. Been some pressure over here though for Ultimaton up against this Bellona in lane. Such a lane bully Bellona can be.
Oh no, this is not the place that Goraz wants to be in right now.
No, it's not. Finds the auto attack, weaves it in. Sprint's coming out too, so they're not afraid to continue pushing on the gas. Look for second blood too. They have the in-hands, turning back in for the shield crash. I don't know if that was the right call. Falls to a double kill to Sleepy on the Hu Yi.
Beautifully played by Argo's duo lane there. Main reason why that comes to fruition, Sleepy hits an excellent double, triple bounce inside that narrow corridor. That's one of the dangers of trying to mess with Hu Yi in the jungle. They weren't even that deeply invested into Argo's jungle, and still Sleepy and Liquid Renegade just immediately capitalized on that mistake and punished Team Kuzenbros pretty heavily for it.
And that's something I think we're going to see more of. The jungle invade can be a little bit of a trap over here in that dual lane as well if you don't have enough pressure when you get it. If you clear, and there's only like a couple minions left, and you try and go for the invade, they can knock them down quick and immediately catch you in that jungle. So I think that's what we saw here. A good hit from Sleepy, of course, that's brought plenty of damage on the Ricochet, and they were able to get that double kill. That's huge.
And patience as well, played by Team Argo in that moment, because they pulled the meditation from the Athena much earlier in the laning phase, which is the main reason why they were able to punish Team Kuzenbros so heavily. They didn't have that meditation to get that initial burst of health that you'd be looking for against that kind of bounce. And so Sleepy, it's all too easy to catch it, especially with Hachiman having invested his own dash, looking for that stun and just coming up short.
Unable to find that stun is going to be problem for the Hachiman player. It's committed it. We got a couple of differences in their starts as well. Hachiman's trying to go with that Transcendence, already has, looks like the tier 2 for him, but instead going with the tier 1 is Sleepy of Crusher, which you seem to be a popular item. Don't always go for it right away, but start with that tier 1 to try and help out. Moonbots is here. If they continue to pressure in, though, they might get caught up by the jungle, and they do. Fear no evil drops down right on top of Sleepy, immediately beads, but it's not going to be enough. The Goros finishes it off, and they're going to be able to get their support out of there too. Through space and time has come to this team fight. Taunt, not enough to keep him alive. 3 kills for Argo, 2 for Kuzen Bros in response.
Bots has got to be careful here. He doesn't want to end up as the next victim. A 2-for-1 so far in Kuzen Bros' favor. Punishing the dual lane for their aggression, but here comes the blink in from the Circuit. The Cobra's Kiss is good, but the Discordia Apple is off the mark.
Yeah, that hurts Kuzen Bros there in that fight so much. Now Argos are going to be able to get away from that fight with the advantage, having made a stronger rotation over. Hanging out just for a little bit here is Giannis, but man, those prolonged fights in dual lane with everyone trickling in, that's how those could go. And you come in and miss something like your ultimate, it really can end up turning the fight.
Oddly enough, this is probably in Sleepy's favor because the Hachiman waited so long to back. They got caught up in that little skirmish happening that they forgot to head back to base, build their items that they needed, and Sleepy's already back in the lane. He's got his Crusher finished off here. He's going to get that 20% boosted attack speed as well as the additional bonus damage from abilities. Really important to keep that in mind because he's all about the bounce early game.
Yeah, this is going to be scary for him because the Goros, when he backed, had to get boots too. Was not able to finish off the Transcendence. That means he won't be getting that stack, won't be getting that additional cooldown. All that, it's like a big swing you get when you finally do finish that Transcendence and start working on it. Instead, Sleepy going to be moving right into a power spike there in lane. Going to be very difficult to try and box into.
In a way, though, it feels as though Argo should have never been able to have a response kill to begin with.
Yeah.
Bartman 451 sticking around for so long and his team not providing sufficient peel to really get him out and away from that Sobek by himself. Now he's getting punished even more for it. Liquid Renegade going to be the one getting that kill, though.
Yeah, Renegade is the one that got it, and they are Renegades here in the duo lane. Really not much more that Kuzen Bros can try and do to stand up and box him at this point, with all the extra damage coming out from the Suns, from the Crusher now on Sleepy, who's level 6, as well as that displacement from the Pluck from Sobek. They're just going to have to make sure they're playing safe. The stun comes out. Matt Archer was perfect because he would have been gone. Woo!
Great timing on that ult. Not sure if it was intentional, but he knew he had to go.
No, he could have waited exactly no more time. He had no more seconds to wait on that, not even a fraction, and he just barely gets out of there. But that's still a big win for Sleepy, of course. I mean, obviously, you've got that ultimate on cooldown now. It's just even less safe for Thegoris in lane.
And it's rough stuff if you're Bartman 451 right now. 0-3, only 6 minutes, almost 7 minutes into the game. Just now getting that ultimate and already using it to head back to lane. That concern that the Hachi might have actually died. Speaking of which, meditation going to be used once more. That's a good opening for Rex Forever to try and maybe head on over to the dual lane again.
Moonbot's catching Circuit here in the jungle and paying almost his entire life bar for it. She's going to look for the jump, couldn't hit it. That might have been enough, really, to finish that kill off if she could have landed and found another in-hand. Instead, Moonbots will very likely have to back after paying so much health for it. But again, Athena gets displaced, pulled back in, and killed one more time. It's looking a little bit too easy over here for the Argos to bully this Athena now that she's fallen behind.
The Crusher first item investment's working out. Speaking of working out, seems as though the Bologna pick is doing the exact same thing over in the solo lane as Ultimatum finds his first death of the game.
Yeah, and there wasn't even the ultimate available there for Circuit either. We saw her use it in the jungle on Umbot, so that was just something you're able to find just between the pressure from her and the Bologna. I think Eagles Rally might have been used. We do see it's on cooldown, so that was available, but just the regular pressure there from Circuit helped them get that kill.
Unfortunately enough for Ultimatum, doesn't have the leisure of picking up those purification beads. Instead, opted for the horrific emblem. So one Circuit taunt is all that really needs to happen in order to pull this Osiris out of position. More likely than not, that's actually what occurred.
Yeah.
And then Parasprite was able to hold that Bologna ultimate until they absolutely needed it for the team secure.
That's what they did. They got that kill over there. So now, not only is Solo Lane a good spot after finally getting a kill onto Ultimaton, they also have that dual lane, which is out in front, 3-1 and 2 for Sleepy. Checking in with the mid laners, it looks like we said, Church is just that little bit ahead of Discordia. He was able to get a kill off his rotation to dual lane earlier, but Giannis also just farms really well.
It's just so hard to keep up with Giannis' farm because of the fact that Church has so much more mobility and can just portal all around the map, splitting that farm alongside of the Circuit. Rex Forever having a pretty comfortable lead over this Humbatz as far as gold is concerned means that he can spend his time just looking for the enemy jungle as opposed to hanging out in his own, and that leaves Church to take all of those heartbeat farm that's left for himself.
Looking once again to try and find the Athena in dual lane. Already used the taunt, now getting pushed back into the Suns. We have seen this film already. We know how it ends, and it does not end well for the Athena player. Just was about to charge up that dash, but just didn't come up in time. Doesn't have the ricochet available, so won't be able to get the stun, so the Goros will be able to fall, but 5th death now for Bartman.
Some solid jukes, though, out of the Athena at least. Bought about as much time as he possibly could. Hippo is able to make the rotation. Unfortunately, it's right on top of a ward. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Rex Forever is going to make quick work of that Discordia.
Bartman is returning, though, using Defender of Olympus. They're able to come crashing down on top of Church, who threw space and times and is able to get away. No real harm, no real foul. They even pick up the oracles for themselves, too, so it ends up working out.
There's just so much of an advantage there. Sleepy with the cheekiest triple bounce I've seen in quite some time. I think even for the moment, Hachiman wasn't sure what hit him.
Jumping back up over the Athena Tom. Mounted archery still not enough. Sleepy ends up finding that one. Another kill onto the Goros, who now falls to 1-2-1. Dual lane in real trouble. Looks like Bartman may have recognized that there's just not much of a chance he's going to be able to get out of this one and ends up falling. Sleepy now 6-1-2. I mean, that's out of control.
Sorry, I'm just not really sure what to say after watching that display of the Athena. Anyway, more action happening in the solo lane. Rex Forever gonna get another kill onto the Humbatz. Osiris forced to retreat to the T1 tower line. Church pressuring out this Discordia nonstop.
So
it hits Rex Forever, though.
It does hit Rex Forever, but it does not save her life. Looking for the bounce. I actually really like that play, but in the end, it ends up getting juked out there by Church, who does help find that kill in the end. Doesn't end up getting kill credit for it, but his damage was certainly instrumental to it. But yeah, the Athena, I think Bartman realized, I mean, no real way that I'm getting out of here. 0-5-1 and 0-6-1 at this point, not too much of a difference, really. And just knew there was really no chance for him to get out of there. Gold Fury, though, being pulled by Argo. I like this call. No one really in place to try and get this. Sunbreaker down on top of it's going to all but secure this objective for them as the gold lead gets even further out of control. 6,500 gold. 11 minutes in, as well as the 8,200 experience. That is so difficult to fight into.
I'm all for understanding leads and experience differences. Meanwhile, Church trying to get away, but this time Hippo's going to be able to find him. Church not able to get away this time. As mobile as Giannis can be, Hippo just did an excellent patience play right there.
Recognizing where that through space and time. All right, so long, Hippo. Recognized where the through space and time was going, got a good kill, but immediately gets met by Rex Forever and the Circuits and ends up paying for this life. Sleepy Time finds yet another kill onto Bartman as well in the duo lane. 0-7-1.
If I'm Team Cruisin' Bros right now, main priority would probably be to send my Athena to any other lane because Bartman only likes showing up to duo to die.
And at this point, it's hurting the Goros a little bit too. Try and let the Goros, even if it is limited underneath his good bounce. Wow. It just gets worse and worse over there for Cruisin' Bros as Sleepy hits the, not even particularly relevant, just kind of the style shot.
Defender of Olympus going to be used again here by Bartman just to get back to lane. And at this point, I'm kind of just thinking that he's using it to get the wave before he dies.
Right. Just got to come in, pick up that wave. But I mean, that's what I was saying. At this point, maybe it might be better for Bartman to try and find, back heart base, try and split, waves in mid, and try and let the Goros catch back up. Really not going to be a chance for it. Does land the taunt, pulls him back in. Tower was taking some shots too, but it does still stand, dashing in. They get good damage onto the Sobek here, but they'll back up for now. Instead, we're going to see some fighting over these oracles. Through space and time being channeled, trying to let him get away, but it's too late. Patient once again is Hippo with the Fear No Evil and catches him right when the CC immunity's over, gets the kill.
And Church is getting a little bit too greedy now in the mid lane, kind of trying to take advantage of their lead. They're still sitting 3 levels ahead of this Discordia, so Giannis not really too concerned about these couple of deaths that have happened, but when you have back-to-back deaths like that, that's kind of the wake-up call that you need to start playing a little bit less recklessly. It felt as though the past 2 deaths, he keeps trying to connect that through space and time onto the Humbatz for the initial damage, and then maybe look for the wraparound play. Really like what Hippo's doing here by holding that Fear No Evil until after the ult has been deployed.
And I like that too. We are seeing some signs of life here from Kuzen Bros because this is a very real lead that the Argos have developed here. Sometimes these early game leads aren't that bad, but this has gotten to the point where it's pretty rough. But we're still seeing some good plays from some heads up, some awareness of where to use their abilities, and Hippo is one of the ones that's been doing it quite well for him.
In Season 5, it's not even so much about the goal disparities that can occur, because you can always make up for that as the game progresses. There's just so much farm available on the map at all points in time that it's really easy to catch back up. The experience, however, is what's really hurting Kuzen Bros right now. Speaking of which, on the aggressive, Argo's ready to go back in.
Yeah, the horse was not going to be enough to get him out of that fight. The Gorus has fallen already and forced to retreat back further as Bartman does have Hippo here in tow, but 4 members of Argos, everyone who's got the Soul Laner, is here to try and make the siege on this Tier 2 tower happen. They don't have any minion waves, though. Not going to find another Miracle Ricochet. Either is Sleepy, so they'll back up for now and try and strip away the jungle of Kuzen Bros instead.
Church is content to farm out that mid lane, knows how much pressure his team has elsewhere on the map. There's going to be the Humbats Fear No Evil, followed up by the Serket into the Deathbane, and there's just no escape for the Humbats.
There was not going to be any escape there. The ultimate was enough to finish that off. Through space and time used as well, just to get over here a little bit faster. They do have a wave with them this time, though, so this Tier 2 tower is going to be under siege. We see Discordia rotating over here as well. They're ready to try and fight this. The Gorus doesn't have mounted archery either, so he has to play very safe in the back end. Taunt does land, but Tier 2 tower is already fallen. And Argo able to get that one, no problem.
Kuzen Bros is trying to have the responses to these acts of aggression from Argo, but they're simply too far behind right now to even try and contest underneath their own T2 towers. Right now, the best thing they could possibly do is just play it as passive as possible, let Argo push up the waves, maybe contest the remaining T2 towers, because they do still have their mid and solo lane T2s that they can try and hold on to, but these T1s don't even bother.
Yeah, that's not going to really be able to defend them. When we see them put up the lightest of defenses here in Tier 1, now an overcommit from Bartman. The tail whip interrupts the charge on the dash, gets plucked back in. Discordia ultimate's ticking, doesn't end up spreading it. That was actually very, very close. Does him getting the kill in the end. Church, though, does fall in the back. Hippo has been hunting down this Giannis all game long. It's felt like almost all those deaths have been the result of Hippo chasing him down. Not willing to give up here as Rex Forever can't find the madness to pull him back in, though. So the Chorus will be able to back up, free from the IR of Saket.
Ultimatum has made the rotation now to try and help out his team. Kuzen Bros getting aggressive at the mid lane, but they're going to be able to catch the Humbats in mid, forcing out not only the Purification Beads, the Aegis, and the Fear No Evil.
Hippo jumped over the Eagles rally, too. I really like the play we see from him. He hits a great Fear No Evil. Rex Forever comes back in, though, and does find the kill. Mount Archery not going to get away from the bludgeon, though, as Parasprite slams the horse back into the ground. They still have 2 members strong here, and it looks like they want to keep fighting for this Tier 2 tower. Everyone else, though, was back at base. They might not be able to siege this up against 3 from Kuzen Bros.
Church is back up and running, does have that ultimate charged and ready to go. As to whether or not he'll actually use it, the answer is yes. It's already been launched down the mid lane, coming just short of connecting with Discordia.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Renegades had already walked away as well, so it's just Parasprite there in mid, 1v3ing, essentially. Church was using the through space and time, trying to keep some vision for him, but that wasn't really a realistic opportunity. Instead, though, Gold Fury's back up. They'll try and get some vision over here, and they're ready to go ahead and get it started as well. Sleepy is up, and he's on his way. They have a good chance to get this.
Argo recognized that they're not going to be able to siege that T2 tower quite yet. They will most likely be able to find the picks. Just go for the easy global objectives right now. Strip the map of as much farm as possible and leave Team Kuzen Bros nowhere to farm other than their own lanes. They have Kuzen Bros at their own Team Mercy right now.
They really do. They're up about 11,000 gold right now. As you mentioned, that is something that can be recuperated through towers, through farm on the map, as the Lurking in the Waters is channeled. Eagles Rally comes over the top as well, getting taunt backed in. Sleepy has already found Hippo here in this fight. Pluck to pull Discordia back into the waiting arms of the rest of his team. Bludgeon being channeled, Bludgeon coming down by Parasprite, who's been doing a good job in this fight for him so far. Unstable Vortex is a little bit off the mark. Discordia doing the jukes inside the invisibility and is able to find them with that Strife as well. Aegis and Defender Olympus being channeled to keep him alive, but the Blink Tail Whip is too much. Liquid Renegade finds that one. Blink once again for Zaken to the backside. This time finds the Gorus on the horse. Not enough for him to get away.
And Bartman, he's already seen this one 8 times before, but 9th time's the charm.
Portal.
He's going to get cleaned up just like that. A 4 for nothing in response. Team Kuzen Bros, the surrender vote has started. As to whether or not they'll go through with it is another story to tell, but right now, Ultimatum's feeling the wrath of Argo's lead.
They are feeling the wrath of that lead. Jumping in there as Ultimatum, that felt like too little too late. Really only jumping towards his death in that situation. They did, though, buy enough time for a couple more members to jump back up. They have Hippo and the Discordia both here for him, so they're not going to be able to take that Phoenix just yet. They'll back off instead. Pyromancer is up. There was some farm in the jungle as well. There's still plenty for Argo to get. They did get that tier 2 in mid already. Only the tier 2 tower in solo still standing for them between them and their 3 Phoenixes.
That lead that was established in the duo lane has just carried over to the rest of the map now. As soon as Argo's duo lane started making the rotations, Kuzin Bros just had such a difficult time recovering from that early game pressure.
I mean, how often is your support keeping even level with the mid laner, really? I mean, level 16 right now for the Sobek. I mean, oftentimes you'll see them be several levels behind, instead farming very well. Level 11 like Bartman is. They continue to go aggressive. The apple did land on top of Parasprite, but Parasprite could not care any less. Rex Forever comes in and finishes off the Discordia pluck to pull Bartman back into trouble. Bartman has been plucked so many times this game. I'm sure he never wants to see another Sobek as long as he lives. He continues to get hunted down. Ultimaton is back and trying to force Church out, but Church does have some help in the form of Parasprite. There's that Lord of the Afterlife available again. Shell keeps him alive, and now 2 healthy health bars will zone him away from Church.
Liquid Renegade doesn't even look like the support right now. He looks like he's rocking solo Beck to an extent. He even picked up that Void Stone because of how confident he feels with his lead and his team's lead that he's actually doing enough damage now to solo the level 15 jungler from Kuzin Bros.
He's 7-1 and what was it, 15? Yeah, 7-1 and 15 at this point. I mean, that's insane, really, for a support to be able to have been a part of that many kills, to be that far ahead. I mean, level 16 is 5 levels up on the enemy support, and Bartman is not terribly far behind, all things considered, from where a support normally is, really, in this type of game, but it's just been so dominant, has this Sobek player. Defender of Olympus is channeled. It's a 2v3. Does get the 3-man taunt, but into what damage, I ask you? Now forced to dash away. And Ultimaton continuing to box it out and realizing that that's just not going to happen. Sleepy is the one that gets credit for it and cannot even escape. Can Athena? Parasprite hunts that one down.
Argo got everything that they wanted in that moment. They waited for the Athena ultimate to come through. They didn't want to kill the Osiris until that Defender of Olympus had actually landed because they wanted the quick and easy 2 for nothing.
And they got it. Now they're going to be able to get this tier 2 tower in solo as well. They've got all 5 members strong pushing over here. They don't even need the Fire Giant. They have a Fire Giant's worth of lead working in their favor right now as Argo blinks in, looking in the backside for Hippo. Fear No Evil was there, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive as he's continuing to being chased out by Rex Forever. At least sets up the trade, though, for the Gora, who gets it. Phoenix falls as well. The other 4 members still pushing for Argos for now, but they back up. I like this. They want to come back and get this mid. Phoenix does get taunted back in, but I think they'll be okay for now.
Fortunately enough for the Hachimen there, even though the poison did spread, it was only Liquid Renegade who was pushed up far enough to maybe look for the punish. And a great job, though, from the Hachi there, picking up that kill onto Rex Forever, making sure that that dive doesn't go unanswered.
And this has been a rough game for Kuzin Bros, but I want to point out Hippo in particular on this Unbots play. We mentioned it was last pick for him. A lot of junglers were banned away this game, and still looking good on this Unbots. I feel like he's been punishing Church all game long. He's been trying to stay even with Rex Forever and doing everything he can, as Fire Giant's going to be going down essentially uncontested here to Argo, and it does go down for them. No real way for them to take this one away from the Discordia over the wall.
Unfortunately, though, with the Discordia having been so far pushed up, there's not much that they can do to get away from this situation. Dropping at the jukes, we saw them come through earlier, but okay.
Just not going to be enough. Gets taken down there. Renegade going to get that one. Sobek looking good at 8-1 and 17 at this point in the game, Taco. Really nothing that this Discordia dude can stand to. And he's actually 3 levels ahead of her. Very rare for the support to be there.
Very rare for the support to be there, but honestly, the support can be wherever they want to be. If you are on Argo, Great Fear No Evil, though, going to keep them off the mid lane Phoenix for just a moment longer. Church coming through, though, with a huge through space and time.
Through space and time was good to slow him down there for the moment. Phoenix at half health right now. It's going to be Ultimaton who goes in, has Defender of Olympus channel on top of him, but this has not worked out for Bartman yet, and it did not work out for him now. Immediately blown up by those crits from Sleepy on the Ho Yi. Now the mid Phoenix falls. That's 2 Phoenixes for them. Looks like they're going for the end. They want to pull game 1 here. Does Argo over Kuzin Bro in dominant fashion.
Argo know that what kind of lead that they have. Gonna get a couple of extra player damage there in the fountain, but that's gonna be game one for the Argos and a very dominating performance out of them.
I think Kuzin Bros knew what kind of lead Argo had too.
I think they did. I think they knew as soon as
rough.
Bartman ulted in for his 7th death.
They realized that it wasn't going to be a chance for them to get that one out. We saw the surrender vote coming out a couple times there, perhaps a little bit of frustration there on the side of Kuzin Bros, but that's what you got to do. I talked about it before this game. Both these teams 2-0'd coming into this set. How do you handle that first loss? How do you regroup going into the next game? Play around Hippo, who looked good that game. He looked fine for me on the Hoon bots. Try and get him a higher pick a little sooner, perhaps.
It was evident why Argo placed a lot of their focus on banning away some of those assassins early on. They wanted to ensure that they could throw Hippo onto a guy that he might not feel as comfortable on. Trying to play Hunbots into the Circuit questions, it becomes really difficult because of the fact that you want to drop your Fear No Evil, but then you're usually being met immediately by the Circuit ultimate, and that's what happened more often than not. He was just consistently getting punished for trying to engage.
Yeah, she wasn't even getting controlled by the Fear No Evil, as you said, because she was currently using her own ultimate, but it's also very difficult as the Unbots player when there's a level 17 Sobek on the other side for some reason. You know, you never expect that. Who's buying Voidstone and can feel comfortable doing tons of damage. So hopefully we'll get to see him take another shot. This is now they're going to be first pick. This time are the Kuzin Bros likely going to be able to get him something a little bit better.
And we were mentioning actually, getting a priority pick maybe for Hippo in the jungle. I kind of want to see some priority picks into the duel lane. I want to see Bartman on a god that he's not going to get punished. Exactly, and I have no gripes with the Hachiman. I do think that the Gore has made the best of what he was handed with in the situation. A couple of unfortunate plucks just led to deaths over and over again. But I would like to see something other than the Athena, because the Defender of Olympus, even though it was efficient at helping him get a wave of farm before he died, it's still dying way too many times, and that kind of lead just bled over into the rest of the map.
I like this, though. This dodgy first pick going to be for Kuzin Bros. That's going to look a lot better for Hippo this game, I think. Dodgy is something that can very easily run the early game with that damage, the bleed damage, the Powwow once she gets that online. So good at burning beads and cooldowns as well. I like this first pick.
Argo actually going to take the Athena for themselves, most likely going to be headed for Liquid Renegade. He looked great on that Sobek last game. Surprisingly enough, just isn't choosing to run it back. And I love the Bologna pick one more time. Again, had great pressure in the solo lane, didn't really have to worry about that part of the map, and it just opened up so many different gank opportunities in the mid and dual lane for Team Argo.
And I like this too. The Hachiman pick once again, basically saying, look, we're not bad in the dual lane. We just fell behind early. I know that we can play this Hachiman pick very well. And Sylvanas. This is almost exactly like we were saying, a priority pick for the jungle, and then put the dual lane in a better spot this time. So they get their support right away with Sylvanas. They get Hachiman and the Dodgy. I like this picks in man phase so far.
There are still some concerns around the Sylvanas, though, being that even though Hachiman and Sylv is going to have a great time clearing out the dual lane, they're still going to have to be very careful about their positioning, and Sylvanas is a pretty large god. Argo right now is prioritizing their mobility one more time. They've got the Honest again. Church didn't seem like he was getting away with everything he wanted to in game one. It was more of overconfidence, I think, against the Hunbots and not really being concerned about getting soloed or anything. But if he's a lot more patient with his through space and times and maybe looks for the early kills as opposed to just early outplays, it might work a little bit more fluidly alongside of Argo.
Discordia and Agni going to be the bans there for Argo. Turning their attention towards that mid lane. Very strong right now are these mid laners. Agni in particular, so strong with it. Rain, fire, and the stun he's able to set up, and they're very safe with his dash as well. So those are strong bans.
I'm very happy, though, to see Kuzin Bros taking away that Circuit and taking away the Hu Yi. Two gods that were incredibly problematic for them in Game 1. Really looking to make a bounce back, I think, in Game 2. And they have enough pressure so far. The Bastet pickup here is actually pretty interesting, though, because Bastet has a lot of punish potential against that Sylvanas. There's Cat's great at locking down Sylvanas since he isn't the most mobile god. I'd imagine that Bartman needs to be really careful about their positioning to not get caught out by that.
Ooh, the Scylla pick comes in for Kuzin Bro, and I think you're 100% right about Bastet being problems for Sylvanas. But this Scylla pick, I mean, that's something that can be a little bit slower to get going, and it feels like a high execution god too, making sure you're able to land those Ima monsters off the Sylvanas setup or off the Dodgy setup. It's going to be very important, or they're going to feel like they don't even have a mid laner if they're not getting that perfectly executed.
And the Artemis pickup, actually,
there you go.
Not the most common Hunter pick so far in Season 5, but
She's
Argo
S-tier.
feels really confident with this one. Exactly. See, somebody gets it. Oshi
That's
gets
right,
it.
yeah.
But I like the combination and the synergy possibilities between the Daji and the Scylla. That can be a pretty nasty wombo combo for they're combining their ultimates. Hippo looked pretty solid on that Humbat's last game. Never really got off the ground, though, simply because his team was too far behind. If Team Kuzin Bros doesn't suffer from as much of an experience and gold disparity, then there might actually be in a pretty good position to get this Scylla up and running. They have pressure in both of their side lanes, at least from the initial matchup. You never really know how the laning phase is going to go, but they should be able to compensate at least for that lack of clear that they might be feeling in the mid lane.
Yeah, for whatever, my money is worth, I do like the way that Kuzin Bros approached this draft. It feels like this was the response to the way that Game 1 went, and they're playing around the way that Game 1 went. Kind of lurking around the corner here, though, is the dual lane of Argo. Don't want to reveal that they're here just yet. We talked a little bit about the Artemis, we're joking about the S tier, but she's very strong, very, very strong in lane. They're going to go right to the purple buff, too. I think they're recognizing that they're probably going to get out cleared, so instead they want to just come grab their buff.
This is a great play, though, from Argo, because they're not being punished for it. Team Kuzin Bros is just content to sit at the halfway mark when they could have very easily pushed up to the tower line and prevented Argo from securing their purple buff so easily. Maybe look for the invade themselves, because Bastet isn't going to have the clear to make that rotation early on, and that wasn't even in the intention for Rex. He opted to go speed to Heartbeast to blue buff. He would have never even been close for that kind of invade.
It is too bad, because they're not going to be able to get the most out of their pressure this time, and then choosing to go right to the red buff as well. So this feels like, you draft the high pressure in lane, but then they don't really put it very much into action. They do secure their own buffs this time, which I think actually is a step up from last time where they were getting invaded on, but not perhaps getting the most out of the Hou-Yi Sylvanas at that first wave when they first met, as they let Argo come back and get their own buffs and clear the wave just fine.
It's just one of the top priorities whenever you're opting for such a high-pressure dual lane. You want to be looking to annoy the enemy team as much as possible. Get in their face. Don't let them free farm. Team Argo probably has a little bit more experience as far as competitive play is concerned with their players. That seemed, it felt more evident in the last game at least with their confidence in their play style. And for Kuzin Bros, it's really important to let the enemy team know that you're not scared to back down from a fight. Or you're not scared to take up on a fight.
Absolutely. And this time we did see them push them up to the tower line. Their superior clear came out in favor of them that time, but Renegade showing that he can play the Athena too, using the dash, the reach passive as well. Lurking around over on that soul lane side though is Rex Forever. Looks like he might be trying to catch that speed buff when it comes back up. It's all down on that side, so he might not be able to get it. Was able to hit the pull though. Was Bartman. Very, very low and forcing back the Athena. Renegade this time got to play a little bit more safe. And that is something they have to their advantage over here too. Bartman does have this sustain. This poke war probably going to be in their favor as well.
And Rex Forever had been hovering that soul lane, but I think he's looking more for the kill onto the Osiris as opposed to getting any jungle buff invades. Could still look for the blue buff possibly. Depends on whether or not Hippo's going to make that rotation. And in fact, Hippo is matching Rex in the sense, and this is the invade that we wanted to see out of Kuzin Bros happening now.
They are going in for that invade. They were able to take that purple buff away. Now can they take this fight here in the jungle? They do find the pull and pull him back in, get good damage onto Renegade, but not able to find any kills, so able to get away. They'll meet them here at the wave. This is what's so difficult. There's so much minutia to the way you do this fight. When do you re-enter the wave again? How far do you aggress? Now potentially it's Argo who could get the pressure as they meet the wave first.
That was a great trap placement though by Sleepy. I believe that it actually prevented the Goros from feeling comfortable dashing into the Athena to look for that stun.
Right.
That could have maybe been a first blood opportunity for Kuzin Bros, but that trap from the Artemis just completely deters it because he didn't want to find himself getting caught out with no dash.
Instead, now Argo are going to go for their red buff instead of meeting the wave. Just going to make sure they don't get this one stripped away from them as well, as it very likely would have been if they stuck around for that one. Now they can go back and catch the wave. They'll lose a little bit of that. Not as much as you used to, of course, if any of the minions do survive, because you still get some gold after they've been hit. But this way they get their red buff and they're able to pop it onto Sleep.
One thing we haven't really touched too much on, though, is the Scylla pick against the Bastet. I really like this option for Kuzin Bros mid laner because of the fact that that root from the Scylla's first ability and having that stripped away mobility from the Basta. It's going to be really important here because Rex doesn't have the leisure of just jumping in and dropping that 2 like you would normally want to on Basta. You can't get your bleed off without risking getting crippled yourself and punished.
Scylla very much with that crush can punish you for trying to jump into her range, so that's what we're going to have to be looking for from the mid laner here, from Kuzin Bros. We talked a little bit about their mid laner. Church, once again, is on this Giannis. And we talked about a little bit already how last game, you know, they got an early lead, and so Church is maybe having a little bit more fun, playing a little bit looser than normally. So this game is closer already. The dual lane is not foregone as Wrath of Terra comes out, but Beats lets him get through it. Now we're seeing it from Church through space and time, does hit, as well as the portal. That's going to lock him down. Didn't get that much follow-up, though, from the rest of his dual lane, so not going to be able to find the kill. They were just too poked out. Defender of Olympus is ready to go, though. This time Renegade has it on his side. Mounted archery used to turn around and find the kill, but he might have needed to try and run away a little bit further. Taunt pulls him back in, half health, but he's okay.
Fortunately enough for the Hachimen, Sleepy just didn't feel comfortable pushing past the halfway point. Maybe concerned about a counter gank opportunity there from Argo. They don't really have wards on the dual lane side just yet, so they're not entirely certain of where exactly the Hunter or the jungler might have been.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, way on the other side of the map, they just had no way to know, really, I think. So the pressure was not there, and they probably could have stepped up, but instead, they're not able to quite find it. This time, though, they'll back up. That was what we need to see from them, though. That's what we want to see from Church. In a game where it's much closer, using it through space and time to come over to help out when there's pressure, able to make that rotation obviously much faster than the Scylla is, and try and get those numbers in their favor and help even that dual lane out a little bit more.
Good disengage out of Team Kuzin Bros as well.
Yeah.
As soon as that through space and time was coming, they probably had an alert from their own mid laner. Bartman immediately popping that meditation, trying to get his Hunter as healthy as possible, and himself at the same time. And the fact that Argo just wasn't really able to collapse on top of them just yet, this is already looking pretty good for Kuzin Bros in comparison to Game 1.
Yeah, Argo gonna have to play this game from even. I mean, take a look. I mean, 100 gold is nothing. The experience is literally like wave to wave. This time, though, the Eagles rally coming down on top of Hippo, who we said, again, played very well last game, looking for the invade down here. Now he's on a bit of an island, does find one chain, so he'll be able to pull in Parasprite, but where can he run to at this point? Or not, rather looking for the invade, but getting invaded on. He's going to be able to back up towards his team and be okay. Good job. The Palau still strong and just getting him out of the fight.
Really well played there by Hippo, actually, waiting until the cats had been launched before deploying the Daji ultimate in order to avoid all of that potential damage. Also, great use of the Aegis off of the Bastet bleed, just making sure that Declaw doesn't do too much damage.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about last game from Hippo. I mean, he's playing it so smart from the jungle role, being very patient with his abilities. That's what we saw him do to punish Church last game, was play it very patiently. We see him do it just now, getting the most out of the Palau, as you said, in the Aegis as well, and then able to get back towards the safety of his team once they did rotate over. Hopefully we can see that be used a little bit more offensively for him next time, but still good play.
And Scylla doing a great job keeping up with that Giannis farm. Church hasn't been able to establish an early lead, quite like what we saw in Game 1. And actually, I do believe that the Scylla was able to take away at least one of those mid-harpies there.
Yeah, at this level, you know, we expect these players to be able to, but there is something to be said for you know, a game where you're that far ahead for 23 minutes, basically, and then coming into the next game and then refine that groove of now where you're even. I mean, we expect these players to be able to do it, but there is something to be said for it. Mounted archery from the Goris, more than enough, though, to shut down Sleepy in that duo lane. He finds that kill easy enough and gets back out.
And towers might block Huyi ricochets, but they do not block that Hachimen ultimate. No. And if you're Artemis, you don't have a jump or an escape to try and get around a corner, get out of the range of that Hachimen ult. Great punish there from Bartman and the Goras, really just taking advantage of their pressure duo.
They actually do have a good bit of pressure with it. The Goras level 8, only level 6 for Sleepy. And Sleepy used Purification Beads to try and get away there too, but it ends up spilling anyway. So that cooldown won't be available. Portal to try and avoid any more damage, and also deter pushing any further from Hippo. This is just too much damage, though. He ends up getting caught. Rex Forever gets the first kill for the Argo, and they're going to force away the Scylla there. The Cats are still chasing, but not able to continue chasing his Rex Forever.
That Scylla escape just going to be enough to get him out of danger. That's an unfortunate loss, though, for Kuzin Bros. Hippo not really expecting that much damage from that unstable vortex, it seems, and getting just a little bit too close. Investing that escape as an initiation factor is such a huge risk versus reward for Adaji.
And it's tough. You know, sometimes we see junglers take blink early on to try and help out with that so that you don't have to use your only escape as your main initiation. Or you can rely on your Paolo as well. Like if you go in too far, you can jump up and try and get out there. But I don't think that in that situation Hippo really had, you know, all those options available to him. Instead, he ends up going in too far, gets immediately punished by the rotation, and now Hippo 0-1-0, a little bit behind Rex Forever, who we know can play well.
He might not have had enough mana for it either at the time, because he was a little bit low on mana there. It looked as though he just wanted some easy poke potential. Speaking of which, Bartman actually getting aggressed onto by Argo's dual lane.
Immediate response there with the mounted archery, not just getting some damage, but the CC immunity as well to make sure he himself does not get stunned by the boar. That'll force them back, and also make sure he's able to keep Bartman alive. Bartman, I'm sure, is happy to not have a 7 in the death count this time. 0-0-1, looking much better on this Sylvanas pick. I'm liking it.
Looking way more confident on the Sylvanas pick as well. The fact that they're actually pushing up and taking advantage of their pressure is already a great start. Although the Bologna could be in a little bit of trouble here, eating a whole lot of poke out of this dodgy. That Unstable Vortex going to come up short on this dodgy.
And this is, again, why Palau so strong, avoiding all this damage and putting out plenty of damage of her own. Gonna need to get a little bit away with that extra movement speed through space and time channel, and Church is able to chase Hippo down on the back end of that. They find a double kill, does Church, and they come over on the solo lane side and put the hurt to the solo jungle.
One of the main disadvantages of trying to aggress onto even the solo laner against Ayana's composition, as Rex Forever picks up yet another kill for the Argo onto the Scylla, and that's going to be a devastating blow to this mid laner from Kuzin Bros because of the fact that Church just got a double kill, just secured a whole T1 tower and a wave of farm, and now is going to happily go back to mid lane with no one there to contest him as he farms safely in that mid lane as well.
Feels a little bit like when it rains, it pours, doesn't it? All three of those kills happening at the same time. Solo lane went bad for them as well. Now they're able to lock down the Sylvanas over here. A little bit too much return damage coming back out onto Rex Forever, who is knocking on the gates of death there. Hippo is going to eventually open that door up for him and push him right on through. Rex Forever does fall after a good job by Bartman surviving as long as he could and kind of baiting him a little bit too far in. They found the return damage and did get that kill, but maybe it's all right. Pyromancer taken on the other side of the map by Argo.
Argo are just doing what they can to respond to the dual lane pressure that Kuzin Bros has managed to find for themselves in Game 2. Bartman and the Goras have done an excellent job combining their god strengths against this Artemis. Every time Sleepy's trying to use that board to his advantage, it's just being met by their own CC immune ultimates. And the Sylvanas knockup is pretty huge as well, because if you time it right, you can not only avoid the boar stun depending on who the boar goes for first from Sleepy, but you can also knock that Artemis up into the air after the duration of the CC immunity on her own ultimate is gone.
Portal used not only keep himself safe, but to lock down for a minute. Hippo, who does go up on the Palau, finds at least one chain and does get the pull as well, but more looking for an escape than any real follow-up. Crush comes through, and the Sigma off the mark too. That's a lot they would have liked to have hit. Comes in though, finds the declaw. That's gonna hurt Hippo quite a bit. He's forced to back up, getting a little bit of heals from this Sylvanas, but wrapping around the backside here is Parasprite. So strong last game. Has the Eagles rally available too. Up into the eye of the monster, finds it, does the mid laner, but now the Eagles rally can come through and finds the crush. Credit ends up going though to the Athena player. Double kill now for Scylla, who's gonna have to try and jump out of there. That fight finally going in favor of Kuzin Bros. Now can they disengage?
A great Hachiman ultimate on the backside. They were not expecting that. Argo's trying to get on the retreat, but the Goras is going to make quick work of Liquid Renegade. Meanwhile, Scylla still going in onto this Bologna. Going to be off the mark with that root, though. Just trying to get the crush off for some extra damage. But Parasprite's not going to fall quite as easily as the rest of his team.
I said they were looking for the disengage, but no one told the Goras that. He comes in with the mounted archer in the back end and sets up yet another kill. Now comes out the Galdonian Boar, looking for a little bit of his own here is Sleepy, and he finds it. Sylvanas taken down easily with a little bit of help from the Hunter. And they get one return kill there in mid. So it's 6-5 are the kills total right now after a bloodbath in mid.
Signs of life from Argo's dual lane, though. Great rotation out of the Artemis, although it came a little bit later than what Sleepy probably wanted to be there. Yeah. At least he was able to punish and find that kill onto Bartman for overstaying in the mid lane, getting a little bit greedy there with the one more wave syndrome.
Does eventually get punished. Man, I gotta imagine that the Kuzin Bros, man, they're saying, God, if we could just all get it going at the same time. Last game, the dual lane fell so far behind, and it was Hippo who looked great. Now the dual lane's looking good, but they don't quite have the whole rest of the team there with them, so they just got to all get on that same page. Fortunately, though, after getting that double kill in mid lane, 2-1 and 1 is going to be Scylla in a much better spot. This is where Scylla wants to be. Anything they can do to try and make it through this early game and get to the point where she's almost one-shotting people, she's happy to do.
But Ultimatum, that's a huge ultimate to pull out of Church there. Forcing that through space and time just means that Church is going to have to use his purification beads if he wants to escape another ultimate from this Daji.
That's right. That is an important cooldown. Not as important because he does have, looks like, cooldown boots as well as he does have Mage's Blessing. So he's got a good amount of CDR already, but you're right. If they force a fight right now, Church will not have that available for him. And it looks like that is the call from Cruisin' Bros. They've got 4 members here looking for a fight in mid. Didn't quite get the pull that Savant was looking for. Did find some good crush damage coming over for the invade onto the red buff, but now they have a chance to get collapsed on. Eagles rally misses because of the taunt. Just a little bit of miscommunication there. Instead, now up onto the Powwow is going to be Hippo. Rathaterra does get the knockup, but he's left all alone. Is Bartman there in mid lane, surrounded by 4 red jerseys, and he falls to Church, who didn't need the ultimate after all, it seems. Aggro, or Argo rather, the ones that come out on top.
There's only so far that a Sylvanas can run by himself, and Bartman just could not seem to get away this time, and he did not have the backup that would have been necessary to collapse. Kuzenbro's just not really willing to take up that engagement. Despite initially having more bodies available, they just did not seem like they wanted to take up that engagement at all. It felt like half their team was split on whether or not they wanted to commit, and Argo just did not hesitate.
That's exactly what it felt. It felt like it was not a full commit into that fight from Kuzenbros for whatever reason. In the end, though, Argo ends up getting the 1 kill for that. They also get the Gold Fury. Very close was the Goras actually with that Heavenly Banner. No one was on him, so he had a chance to throw his hat in the ring there, but just a little bit off. Now Argo's finally opening up the first kind of lead here of the game. It's not too substantial. Looks like we're only looking at, yeah, about 1,500 gold or so, but this is the beginnings of it, where, you know, they start getting a little bit more ward control than their opponents, maybe finish off a little bit of items first, and you start to build that lead from there.
On the bright side, though, Team Kuzenbros is still keeping up pretty well as far as experience is concerned. No one on their team is really all that far behind. Most of the gap actually coming between the supports, because despite Bartman's strong laning phase this time around, seems as though he's still struggling a little bit as far as securing farm in his own jungle and waves are concerned. Great purification beads, but it's not going to be enough. Rex Forever is gone.
Perfectly pulled him back into that I'm a Monster ultimate, and that's our one to see 3-1 and 1 now. I think all those kills have come off of I'm a Monster so far, so you don't have to have any worry about those hitting. Actually, using the taunt to get the reach passive to try and steal away these oracles. I like the idea. It doesn't end up working in the end, but I like where your head's at there, Renegade.
That was such a great play by the Daji, forcing out those purification beats, and they came just a little bit too late. By the time that the Daji had canceled the ultimate, Rex Forever was already getting pulled, which is why we see the beats going on cooldown, but he's not going to have that relic available for at least 2 minutes. That is perfect siege opportunity for Kuzenbros. They take advantage of that 4v5 and immediately take that T1 tower.
This is so much better from Kuzenbros than game 1. I love this. I mean, yes, you know, your dual lane going 0 and 13, it can make it hard to play the rest of the game. So, I mean, I certainly understand why they look so different, but they look so much more composed here in this game. But this cannot happen. A Pyromancer gets taken away essentially for free here by Argo. No one was around from Kuzenbros.
That's just the veteran experience shining through there for Argo. They knew that Kuzenbros had let up a little bit after sieging that T1 tower. They'd all started falling back to their own jungle, just looking to secure their farm. They forgot about the global objectives. Global objectives are what really start to separate one team from the others. And Argo have had every single opportunity to siege these because of the fact that Kuzenbros just never really seems to be aware when they're happening.
Yeah, Kuzenbros, this might be the more real, you know, gap between these two teams. This game's certainly not over, and Argo certainly hasn't pulled away or anything like that in this game, as Through Space and Time is channeled, trying to come over, even up these numbers a little bit, as there's been an aggression by Hippo over here on this solo lane side. Does have the chains down on both of them and gets the pull on the Parasprite, who's happy to just bludgeon and try and return the damage just a little bit. Jumps back over the Lord of the Afterlife, a 2v2 slugfest. I'm a Monster, though, comes in, never gonna let it stay an even 2v2. Dies for able to get that second tick off. Already a 3-for-1 in favor favor of Argo as they look for more. They won that fight over in duo lane as well.
Parasprite just refuses to die. That is the conclusion that I have come to. Meanwhile, Goris is going to be able to find Sleepy on the opposite side of the map. Parasprite and Rex Forever still trying to work down this Osiris, and finally, Ultimatum is going to meet his death. A 4 for 2, even though the fight broke out in 2 separate spots.
That was a long, engaged battle. Important in that fight, I believe it was Rex Forever who was able to come in on the backside and find Scylla, who I think could have completely changed that team fight. The second I Am a Monster, I don't think ticked for him. They got the first and got the kill, but just got blown up by Rex Forever.
We saw it visually that it was about to connect onto Parasprite, but Rex Forever just saving the life of his Bologna by being in the right spot at the right time, punishing that Scylla while he's charging up that ult. And unfortunately for the Scylla, no other option other than to try and commit to the kill. I respect that decision there instead of panic escaping.
Yeah, and that is one of the downfalls. While you're channeling that I Am a Monster, you are stationary, you are an easy target. So yes, you're putting out a bunch of damage, but you are somewhat vulnerable yourself. So Rex Forever able to find that one and keep that team fight from getting out of hand. Now sitting 11-8 in the kills here. 20 minutes in after a 4 for 2 overall. That fight in duo lane, the Goris able to find some return kills, so that wasn't as bad, but the Cats perfectly have him pinned here. The Goris is done getting caught by Rex Forever in the jungle.
Seems as though the Goris just had everything on cooldown, most likely. The fact that he didn't even try to use the dash leads me to believe that it was probably used in securing those mid-harpies or some other form of farm. Parasprite, however, he's still not done. Really trying to make quick work of this dodgy.
Trying to. Right now in that palace, so it's safe. Just gonna clear the minions while the chains slap up against him. Knows there's really not much else he could do. Wrath of Terror, 2 ultimates committed over here into Parasprite. He did use his own Eagles Rally, but there's some. The cavalry is here for the rest of the Kuzan Bros. Through space and time, though, is going to even out these numbers if they want to try and commit onto this one. Looks like they are going to in the back end of the fight. Taunt comes out as well. It's Rex Forever dropping down the Cats, but jumping away very low once again. As Scylla goes in the Eye of a Monster for the CC immunity, drops the damage, but doesn't find it. Does get the Sick'em to create a little bit of space. There comes that scratch, though, on the poison, but actually, they realize that they're probably not going to be able to get this one out. In the end, the surrender vote comes out. So Argo able to get that one 2-0. Taco, talking about that surrender vote. I mean, it wasn't over, was it?
It didn't seem like it was over, but it seemed as though it was over mentally for Kuzan Bros.
Sure.
Whenever a team is willing to F6 in that manner at a point, they kind of just recognize that they were a little bit outmatched there by Argo's experience and just overall skill level.
Yeah, I mean, there could be anything for it, maybe not able to keep it going, maybe recognize that that one was just out of their reach. They did play that first game, though, got some valuable experience. Let's take a look one more time at how everything's sorted out. Argo doesn't drop a game the whole way through, looking very strong. Kuzan Bros, even though they look good against Team No Sleep, weren't quite a match for the Argo this week.
Shout out to the jungler, though, from Kuzan Bros. I think that in both games, it was very evident that they were consistently trying to make plays happen. Unfortunately for Hippo, the rest of his team just couldn't match him with that follow-up. Although we did see some highlight plays, I think, out of his mid laner. Mid laner really trying to match what Hippo was bringing to the table. It just wasn't translating very well over to the rest of the team.
Yeah, game 2 did look much better there for Kuzan Bros, despite the fact they weren't able to get it in the end. The duo lane looked much better. Actually, we're ahead for a while in that duo lane. As you said, the mid laner was finding those I'm a Monsters for them as well. So just couldn't quite get everything to match with that same level. I mean, we saw Pyromancer stripped away for free, so some of those calls weren't quite there for him.
Experience is really important, though, and even for Kuzan Bros, I hope that they take this opportunity and look to really learn from their mistakes, maybe take a couple of checkups on their drafting. It's always great playing against these sort of teams like Argo because you just build up that player experience, which is really helpful moving along in future competitive play.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule because that is going to do it here for the Global Series today, but we got Southeast Asia coming for you all tomorrow. It's going to be 11 a.m., and then on Friday, of course, we do Latin America, both North and South, so there is plenty more Global Series for you all to check out throughout the rest of the week, but that is going to do it here for us today. Make sure you stick around for the SPL. It's going to be starting 5 p.m. later today.